Worldwide edition of the Gimmick Minute Wrestling Podcast. We are live at youtube.com/Gimmick Minute. So just search for us. Just go to YouTube, search Gimmick Minute. You'll be able to find the link. I also tweeted it out so you can actually go to @LiveYourGimmick on X. That's @LiveYourGimmick. That's the @ symbol followed by LIVYOURGIMMICK. If you watch this on Spotify later on or on YouTube later on, if you can actually see the X handle down in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen. But I did tweet out the link, so hopefully we get some people to join us tonight. But my name is Jason. I got my buddy Kevin here. We're going to talk about some pro wrestling and things that are going on this week. Just to kind of give a little bit of an agenda, we're just going to talk about a few different things. We had some kind of monumental shows this week for both WWE and AEW, so we're going to talk a little bit about that. In addition to that, too, WWE Bad Blood is coming up this Saturday. And I thought Kevin has a little bit of a different spin. I know usually we kind of do the pick'ems or whatever, but Fightful.com actually has betting odds for WWE Bad Blood. So I thought it'd be interesting just to kind of go through and look at those just to kind of see what we think. And I've never actually bet on wrestling. Like, it's a new concept for me, you know what I mean? But, I think some of these odds are...
When you say that, it kind of makes me chuckle because, I mean, how appropriate, I guess, to bringing this up, but obviously, many people know the other day Pete Rose passed away,
Yes.
And to me, Pete Rose was definitely one of those worthy celebrities. He came right in right away. WrestleMania 14 blew everybody away. No idea he was gonna heel on the Boston crowd like that. You know what I mean? Just such a recurring great thing with him and Kane. And I think when you I don't know why I thought of this, but I think of betting on wrestling. Well, the Hall of Fame induction ceremony before WrestleMania 20, Pete Rose was this celebrity inductee.
Mm-hmm.
And during Bobby Heenan's speech, which was probably the all-time greatest Hall of Fame speech ever, Pete Rose, who was just laughing his ass off at everything Bobby was saying, there was a pause during the speech, and Bobby Heenan just says, "Oh, I just want to apologize to you people, but I've bet on wrestling." So, which is such a funny thing because you never, like you said, you never think of betting on wrestling. So,
right.
I'm sorry, that somehow just popped in my head as soon as you said that off the cuff.
No, that's good. I like it. And really it's funny too because it's predetermined, but not to us. We don't know what's really going to happen. So unless you're working on the inside and you're in the creative meetings, you really don't know. So I guess it is something that you could technically bet on. But it's more akin to a prop bet, like a Super Bowl prop bet or something like that. I think that it would be a legitimate bet. I think it's more states that allow prop betting that allow betting on wrestling. If that makes sense. So I don't know if Ohio. I don't think Ohio. I'd have to look through, but I don't know if Ohio is a state that we can. I think it's still one of those.
The funny thing is, I'm kind of shocked there hasn't been betting on wrestling because you would figure the days of kayfabe and stuff, and let's say pre 95, 96 or whatever, you really didn't know. I mean, even I guess it depends on your age, but even when they start exposing stuff or whatever, you still didn't really know. It's because there was not many places to find it. You know what I mean? You'd have to really dig deep. So
yeah, that's true. Definitely true. But yeah, so I don't know. I just thought it'd be interesting just to kind of see what's what to look at for those betting odds. So trying to think. I got a few things that I was kind of set that I wanted to talk about. Like I said, a bunch of things happened. I know SmackDown happened this past Friday. The week before, I think, was more of because this wasn't the debut on USA this past Friday, right? This is the second week on USA, or was this the debut?
I believe this is the second week because the debut was the week before. Yeah, because debut had Teddy Long and all those people and
a
bunch of people.
I think the most notable thing out of this episode, other than I was kind of surprised that Bailey got the win over Naomi, so we're gonna get the Bailey Nia Jax rematch. Uh, but I think one of the most notable things would have been the way that Kevin Owens kind of cast off Cody Rhodes a little bit at the beginning of the show, and the dissension you're starting to kind of see between the two of them, and Randy Orton trying to maybe play the peacekeeper in the middle type thing. So I thought that was kind of interesting how that played out. Just kind of more onions being, or more layers to the onion that is Kevin Owens and his beef with Roman Reigns and now kind of Cody Rhodes. So that was kind of interesting. But outside of that, there wasn't really anything on SmackDown that necessarily. I mean, one thing that I guess kind of gets slept on, man. Carmelo Hayes and Andrade have been in the middle of one hell of a best of 7. I don't even think we've talked about it yet.
I mean, and
it's
honestly,
been kind of under the radar. Like they haven't really touted it as that, but they're starting to like, okay, you know, Andrade's won 4 out of the 5 or 3 out of the 5 or something. You know, they're starting to kind of keep track of it. And then LA Knight ruined this last one, but every match that they've had, man, has been a can't miss match. I mean, they've all been good.
Yeah, and by me, even like not really, me personally, even not really seeing a lot of those, you already know it would be just because they're just phenomenal talents, and you know that it's not just spot fest. It's like story. It's probably like subtle storytelling spot fest, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, this last one, Bleacher Report gave an A-. That's a match on SmackDown. I mean, that's a pay-per-view quality type grade on a match. And that's the one thing too, you know, and I think a lot of people are sleeping on this, and you know, this is also something we really haven't talked about, but you know, the knock on WWE for so long is that it was, you know, too much focused on the talking and the segments and not so much on the wrestling. But I think what you're seeing now is a healthy balance of that. You know, because we have the story driven segments, but then every match, like there might only be 3 or 4 matches on the card, but they're all multiple segment long matches. You don't have those quick 1 segment 2-minute matches anymore. Like every match seems to have substance, and just about every match also has some meanings to it as well.
Yeah, and a lot of stuff is paced so well. I think, you know, and even to where like they don't need to have. I think that's one thing we always like, you know, at times commend to AEW for, especially when, like the first show you and I ever went, like that we went to, in Cleveland. We were like, man, like the action doesn't stop, which is cool. Like, you know what I mean? There was no lull, and it was good action, no lulls. I'm not saying they do that well all the time, but like WWE has done such a good job with pacing the show to where it doesn't have to be just boom, 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 but it's certain things here and there that keep you at bay.
Yeah. And even with Raw being 3 hours, and I know it's not going to be anymore going forward. They're moving to a 2-hour format for the rest of their time on USA before it moves to Netflix. But even with it being 3 hours, it hasn't been bad. It's been an easy watch. Like I don't find myself getting bored or fast forwarding, because the one thing is every single backstage segment seems like it has something going on that you have to pay attention to, and there's always these little subtle nuances and the different things going on, especially, you know, stuff that happened this past Monday with Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston, and you know, and how Xavier ended up beating Rey Mysterio, and it looked like, was that Karrion Kross in the very, very far background during the backstage with Kofi and Xavier? Like I thought
that's what it seemed like to me.
Yeah. So, you know, there's always something to pay attention to, and it makes it kind of fun to watch. I'm almost a little disappointed that they're dropping it to 2 hours, but I mean, I guess it'll go quicker. It'll give me 1 less hour of wrestling to watch throughout the week. So I guess I can be happy about that. But
and it's smart. It's smart because let's face it. Like, I mean, at their hottest times, they were 2 hours.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like, whether it's Attitude Era, Ruthless Aggression Era, or whatever, like 2 hours to me is the money spot.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Because especially like, you know what I mean, if your hottest hour is going to be your last hour, like sometimes people might like fall asleep. They might, you know what I mean? They might not want to stay awake, and then they'll say, "Oh, I'll watch it the next day," and they don't or whatever. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
there was nothing like, especially the days of for us in high school attitude era where it's like, okay, it's 10 o'clock. It's like, all right, I sometimes you need like an hour to unwind and then go to bed. Now it's
Mhm.
like it's almost smart audience wise of like, okay, 10 o'clock you got the unwind hour, or 11 o'clock's a good time. Get to bed. So
Right. Yeah. I was honestly surprised they were going from 8 to 10 instead of 9 to 11. I was actually really shocked by that because even I feel like even at its heyday, it wasn't Raw was always 9 to 11, right? Like it was
no,
nine
it
to
was it?
ten was the war zone. Yeah, because that's one of the reasons
Was it?
why Nitro always started at 8 because they started an hour before, and then Eric would always try to have something good at that like that
Yeah, you're
transition
right.
segment to lead into when Raw was starting.
Oh yeah, you are right. I don't know
Yeah,
why I was thinking. I don't know why I was thinking. Maybe I was
because
just so programmed.
9 to 10 was the the regular Raw,
Oh yeah,
and
the
then
war zone was ten to
Warzone was
11.
10 to 11 because it was always a little bit more edgier from 10 to
Mm-hmm.
11 because theoretically that's when the kids would go to bed, even though we were both wide awake watching it, but I mean we
Yes.
were teenagers, but anyway. So yeah, I mean, there's definitely some different things going on. I thought Monday Night Raw this week again was a home run. I mean, there was a lot of good segments on it. I won't, don't want to go into everything, but the Xavier Woods Rey Mysterio match was fun. I thought the way it kicked off with Braun shaking Jey Uso's hand and kind of having a little bit of a face turn was interesting. So we kind
Mm-hmm.
of speculated that they might be going that direction with Braun Breaker. So it's you know it, the only problem is there it just isn't a ton of heels right now. So, but you think about it, if you're looking at building baby faces that are credible threats to Gunther,
Yeah.
Braun Breaker would be a credible threat to Gunther. I'm not saying he's going to win the world championship, but for a guy his age to have that spot now to take a to have that match, maybe one of those go over but not or get over but not go over type matches with Gunther, like that would be a good spot for him right now,
Mm-hmm.
and they could build somebody else. They could have almost maybe two pay-per-views with him and Gunther, and maybe build somebody else in the meantime. So that would be a good credible threat to him. I know he's going to get Sami Zayn at Bad Blood, which we learned this week, but I don't know. I thought it was pretty interesting.
Yeah,
And
and
then
I loved the honestly the last Monster Standing match. I thought it was
oh yeah, it was great.
so well done.
Yeah,
You're thinking, yeah, okay, yeah, ring's gonna break. But the thing is, when the ring broke, the crowd still freaking popped like
I
it never
know.
happened before.
You knew it was
You knew
gonna
it was gonna,
happen. I
yes,
mean, you knew it was gonna happen.
but just everything, just the ringside stuff and freaking Braun doing the dive to the outside and
Yeah,
but the story of like of Bronson Reed putting his hands on Adam Pierce, like
yeah,
just you know what I mean, like and then Seth
yeah. That
Rollins
was
out of nowhere.
that was cool. Like, and now you see kind of where Seth is headed right now, right? So that's his direction, is that he's going
Is he
after.
headed there, or could you know what I mean? Like I still wonder, like, is it a swerve to make you think like he's not going to be anywhere near the
Yeah.
McIntyre Punk main
I mean,
event?
I already said it last week. If he comes out, he better be dressed as Kane. That's all I got to say about
God, I hope so. God, that'd be awesome. Only
That's gotta be Kane.
it's only gonna happen if McIntyre has something Taker-esque, and for love of God, like Punk needs to just come out and what did Sean wear in that match? Like all black. I think Sean had all black with maybe like some red. I forget what highlights and stuff he had on his tights and stuff. But if
Yeah,
Punk comes out in all black with like looking very HBK-esque like pant wise,
yeah.
God, that'd be
Speaking
awesome.
speaking of CM Punk and HBK, can we
Oh my
talk for a
God.
second about it didn't air on TV, right? Like that was just something that they did on .com.
I didn't.
Right?
I mean, I didn't. I didn't. So I didn't get to watch the show on TV, but like, I just went back and just went on NXT's Twitter or X account and just watched through the show that way or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, come on,
I mean, it was it was perfect.
brilliant. Like,
For those that didn't see it, there's a video from NXT. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna see if I can try to pull it up. But basically, you know, if you watch the Vince McMahon documentary, which I guess we could talk about this week, did you get a chance to finish it?
I finished it all. Yes.
Okay, all right. So we'll go back and talk about it here in a little bit. But so if you watch the Vince McMahon documentary, there was a moment where they had talked about, and Bruce Pritchard has talked about this before. So it was actually kind of, I think, validating maybe that we got to see Bruce, kind of get credited. Like he was right that the start of the Attitude Era was a segment on Monday Night Raw where Shawn Michaels came to the ring to call out The Undertaker. Now, the one part of the story that didn't get told on the Vince McMahon doc is that The Undertaker actually wasn't there. It was a pre-tape, so he appeared on the Titantron, but Shawn was talking to him as if he was there. And
Right.
that led to a lot of problems for Shawn. But one of the things that was kind of the most funny about it is that he had gauze stuffed in his shorts. Like he had real tight, like bicycle, like almost like boxer brief type shorts on. And he had gauze. Everybody thought it was a sock, but it turned out it was gauze stuffed.
Now, was Vince not there that night or something too?
Vince was not there that night, no.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So, and Bruce didn't see it before he went out, but he could clearly see it when Shawn was walking out on camera.
Yes.
So basically, he brought a lot of attention to it. Like he was gesturing with his hands, like doing the suck it stuff. Like he was making it known that he had that gauze in there.
Mm-hmm.
And and there's been other times that he's worn those shorts like for refereeing and stuff like that. So there's a segment backstage in NXT, and I think again it was before the show actually aired, but it was Triple H talking to CM Punk, and he's wearing shorts like that with his referee shirt. Actually, I found it here, so let me pull it up. Let me pull it up, and I'm going to share the screen so anybody watching along or watching later on can see exactly what we're talking about. So let me pull it up here. All right. You see it, Kev? All right, so here we go.
I think you should definitely do it. Okay. But no, hey, Sean, no. I told him not to. This, we can't have this. Take that ridiculous thing off. That's. No, that's shorts. Cool with the shorts. Give me the hat. Go get him, boys.
It's cool with the shorts. He just wanted the hat back, which was just utterly hilarious. And
I think it's funny he called his own hat ridiculous.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe it just looked ridiculous on Punk with the outfit. Maybe that was it, because it did match what Shawn was wearing a whole lot better. But good stuff. But
just anyway, too funny.
And then what do you think of Monday? Did you see the promo with McIntyre and Punk where they were in the Hell in the Cell? They dropped the cell down for the promo.
Yeah, I saw. I got to see a little bit of it. How about, did you notice Punk doing the his old thing he used to do?
Oh, the knuckle thing?
Yeah.
I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, so like when Drew, if you go back and watch, it's when Drew is like halfway down the ramp and they pan the Punk and he's doing it. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got to be the main event. I mean, you know what I mean? It's got to be.
It has to be, yeah. I mean, it's definitely the most important thing on the show. I don't think it's going to be the bloodline stuff. I mean, there's just not as much I mean, there's more heat with this than there is with anything else. Like, there's no way anything else can be over this as far as spectacles or rivalry. Like, it's definitely the hottest thing that they have.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, Gunther and Sami Zayn just got made this week, so it's not like that has a whole. I mean, it's got some story that's been built up over the last few weeks, but it's still not. It's not on the same level right now. So, no, I wholeheartedly agree with you on that. And it's going to be. I think it's going to be the end of it.
Yeah, it's gotta be.
Did you see Miz finally turned on R-Truth?
Yeah, I did see that. I mean, just a matter of time coming, I guess. So.
Yeah. Hey, careful with your mic. You're bumping.
Oh, I'm sorry.
All right. So NXT debuted on the CW this week. I thought, overall, man, if you're gonna make a statement on a new network, this was the show to do it. Like, I know you said you didn't really watch too much of the show.
I basically was able to. I mean, I pretty much got the whole gist of it.
You got the whole gist of it.
Okay. I mean, to me though, like the start with, Shawn out there, but then how about like Triple H just coming out of like the crowd?
Yeah.
No, you know what I mean? Just out of nowhere, and the crowd just like went freaking. You know what I mean? It was old school NXT. But yeah, it was great. We got introduction of new title belts.
Yep.
For the men's and women's, which a lot of people are like, the NXT, like, they're like, oh, they're just like, I mean, I like them, honestly. I mean, they're probably my favorite version of them, just because the big X isn't on there anymore, and I didn't mind the one that had like the rainbow one like last time or whatever, but no, this one just it fits better, and
it kind of reminds me, honestly, of the more, well, I don't want to say. I guess not so much, because it's almost like a combination of not the original World Championship, because that one was just a weird big X that almost
that was weird.
That was weird, yeah. But maybe the second version, I don't know. It almost kind of looks like an updated version of what the women's one used to look like in a way.
I will say, I think their logo on the main plate with the NXT with the globe behind it might be close to a little bit of gimmick infringement on our logo, Jason.
You think so?
If you think about it, if you look at our little logo with the globe behind it,
yeah,
it's pretty close.
Yeah, it might be. So, they're stealing our shit. Yeah. Speaking of new title belts, we didn't. I know you and I talked about it privately, but let me pop this up on the screen real quick. The new NXT. Oops, wrong thing. Or the new NXT, the new Intercontinental Championship belt. Man, like it's funny because it's the same belt from before, but just adding that splash of blue on the globes and in that middle makes it look completely different.
Yes. I guess the only thing I still don't like about it is the Intercontinental champ in a circle like that.
Yeah.
I guess I don't know other way you could put it on there, I guess. But
I mean, unless you're across the top, but it's kind of the way the design goes. It is kind of weird because it makes it hard to kind of read the whole thing. So I get where you're going with it there. But man, yeah, just that little splash of blue, and it looked real good coming out on Jay. And Jay had that black and gold Yeet shirt, so he's got the championship Yeet shirt. I thought that was a nice touch. But I'm looking forward to a Jey Uso championship. And a lot of people were saying that it's almost like they took the old IC title belt, the kind of like the early 2000s one. You know, the one that
oval. Yeah, it's called the oval IC.
The oval IC, yeah. And so it's almost like they kind of adding the splash of color makes it look a little bit more like that. So some people
it does a little bit.
Some people did a side by side with Umaga holding that one and Jay holding that one and saying like paying homage or something like that. So I don't know if that was the intention behind it or if they just wanted to freshen up the look of it. But either way, this went from my least favorite title belt to one that I actually kind of like. So I'm not gonna say it's my favorite, but I definitely like it. It's got a fresh look to it. I enjoy it.
They now just need to refresh the U.S. title. I don't mind the U.S. title.
Dude, I've always liked that U.S. title.
Okay, no. I have no problem with it. The only problem I have with it is that the champion is so much bigger. You could barely read the United States. To me, the United States should be bigger or the same size as a champion. If you look at it, it's United States real small and then champion. So it just looks like WWE something champion.
Huh.
Outside of that, I have no problem with it.
Yeah. All right. And then some other things that happened on NXT. Julia made her in-ring debut, which she looked like $1 million. Some people were mad that she didn't win the NXT Women's Championship. Like, it's her first freaking match, dude. You can't put if you put the championship on somebody in their first match, where do they go from there?
I feel like that's it. Didn't that happen to with Okada? Not that. Yeah. I don't think that was his first match, but that was his first championship match of some kind.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and we'll talk about that here in a minute. But he defended it for 20 minutes in a match against Bryan Danielson, which we were already told was going to go long because there was a longer overrun than ever before. So if there's a longer overrun than ever before, chances are that match isn't going to end in the first 20 minutes.
Right. Yeah. Because there's no way he's
dumb as hell.
Yeah, there's no way he's losing.
Yeah. So anyway, back to NXT. The other thing, dude, that Zachary Wentz and Wes Lee's street fight was awesome. Awesome. I mean,
yes,
that stole the show for sure. I mean, it
dude, the coast to coast.
Yeah, dude. I mean, he nailed that. I mean, everything. Like when he pulled up that big huge board from under the ring and Wes dove into it, like that was brutal. There was a lot in that match that I was like, man. Well, if they weren't friends before, then
right.
And then of course we got the Jada Parker and Lola Vice, that whole angle. That's I'm curious to see where that's going, but we got the big moment at the end, Trick Williams versus All Ego Ethan Page. You had Punk as a special guest referee. I thought I loved how they kind of established Punk's dominance at the beginning, and then he kind of laid out and let those guys have their match. I loved Trick's gear, the Chicago Bulls inspired tights. I thought those were really cool. The and they had a good match, and I think a lot of people kind of shit on the end. Like, again, this kind of it almost kind of happened the same way that the Jey Uso win did. Like, the show kind of went so long that Trick got his moment, but then it was really kind of cut short because they immediately, it was just over, or the pay-per-view, the show ended, went off the air, and just right after the match ended, basically, like there wasn't a whole lot.
Yeah. Well, how about during the end credits too?
Oh, you got a lot of people online shitting on the end credits and people doing to him and blah 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 blah. Like, he was there. He didn't do anything to hurt Ethan Page. If anything, that's just setting up a rivalry between him and Ethan Page. I don't know. It's just weird.
I mean, I thought it was hilarious because he just panned back and then all of a sudden you just see a GTS out of nowhere. So
yeah, happened. I kind of had to go. I rewound it because I was like, what pushed him? So and then he kind of went as to why it happened. but it was fun. It was a good moment for Trick. That dude is going to be something in this tour. He's somebody that's going to end up being over. You know, and oh, I'm sorry. We did have a